Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Santana.
Oh, my pleasure.
Not a problem, not a problem at all. So tell me a little bit about how what brought you into the martial arts and what actually got you started within the martial arts itself.
Oh, well, just like a lot of guys my age, it was Bruce Lee and Kato watching the Green Hornet.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was like for a lot of guys catalyst. For that was for me especially. Um, yeah, and like I said, I always wanted to learn it, and right about the time I was in junior high, what about 13 years old, I was playing saxophone and trumpet, and the guy next to me was playing was a tenor sax, and he was a martial artist, and so I just tried to get as much from him as I could, and eventually, well, it wasn't until like 1970 that I actually, my brother, who was a wrestler at American River at the college here in Sacramento, he took me down to uh, where he was learning a little bit of martial arts. He was invited by a guy named Mariano Estioco, who was a fourth degree under in Tang Soo Do under Wang Ki at that time. Now, I didn't know what all that meant, but he had a 3 month program where you like paid $5 a month for all 3 months, and after that, the price went skyrocketed, and I couldn't, my parents couldn't afford it, so eventually, that was like in 1970, I believe, yeah, 1970 more or less. Like he was located like on 34th and J Street. Anyway, my parents finally moved from South Natomas, which is Northgate, whatever, here in Sacramento. We all moved to Broderick, West Sacramento. And it just so happened that somebody, I can't remember who it was, told me that there was a program at the local center there where for teaching karate. So I went in there and it was like, oh my God, same style, Tong Soo Do. And so I signed up under a guy named Tony Gonzalez, uh, and he was under Andy Apple, which was the third degree black belt that apparently him and Estioco had a parting of the ways. And so I was under somebody else at that time. So anyway, that's how I got started, Tong Soo Do, and eventually I got into Eskrima, which at that time you couldn't have two masters. So my that Tong Soo Do instructor got upset with me, but I went with the Eskrima and the American Kempo, which back then was called Chinese Kempo.
As far as the program went within Tang Soo Do, how far within that Korean program did you progress?
I got almost to the red belt. I was actually he was kind of a liberal instructor back then for that kind of thing.
Hmm.
He got me. I was at the last green belt level, getting ready for red belt, but he was already showing me red. He was always showing red belt katas and stuff, and he was
Hmm.
showing even he would work with you on some of his katas that he was working on. He would let you watch it, and he'd let you imitate, but he would show you. So, like Shipsu, which is like Kangetsu in Shotokan, but yeah, that was the type of thing that you know we'd go to tournaments and we'd see like all the different people at the tournaments. Like, oh my God, you would see all the San Francisco, Stockton. We'd go to all those tournaments and just watch all these people, and it's like we'd come back to the studio. We would just like imitate them and stuff, and we had a good time. That's how I learned by osmosis, I would say, the other styles and different things they were doing. But anyway, yeah, that was my formative years. I was like 17, I think, at that time.
When did you? At what age did you initiate training within the Chinese Kempo and the Eskrima initially?
Well, 73, I started with the Chinese Kempo, and at the same time, the Serrata Eskrima. My instructor at that time had the school, and he was a personal student of Angel Cabales. A lot of people say that no, you didn't. He didn't learn under Angel Cabales. It was under his underlings. Now he did study under Angel Cabales. I even have uh, uh, copies of pictures and films of him. And but anyway, he was a student of Angel Cabales. At the same time, I showed him some of the forms that I knew, of the karate, and he would let me learn under the Sarada that he was learning, and I learned a lot from him and his main student, believe it or not, was Dave Kovar. I don't know if you never know that name.
Yes, I'm familiar with
Yeah,
Mr. Kovar, certainly. Hmm.
yeah, Dave Kovar was my so-called was senior,
Hmm.
and he was the one that showed me the what we call now sombrata. Back then we called it rolling, but it's sombrata.
Uh-huh.
It was
Uh-huh.
Dave Kovar who showed me sombrata, and a lot of the stuff that I learned it directly from Bruce Chechnik and Dave Kovar.
I see. And who was your instructor at that time?
For what, the Chinese Kempo?
For the Chinese Kempo and the
Oh,
Sarada.
it was Bruce Chechnik.
Oh, I
Bruce
see.
Chechnik. He was a direct student of Angel Cabales, and
Hmm.
at that time he had his own studio. And in exchange for learning what I knew of the so-called hard arts, he showed me the he directly showed me like Tiger Crane and Dave Kovar and the Sabata arts and Dave Kovar, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was another senior, can't remember his name, Horsley, and John Cates. Those were the seniors there, and I learned from them too the Kempo arts.
I see. And how long did you? How long were you with Bruce Jutnik in his studio?
Well, I started with him in '73 when he was on Arden Way,
Hmm.
and then he moved to Marconi, and I was still with him. And then he moved to Orangevale, and I was still with him. We didn't actually part ways till like 2006, 2007.
Is that right?
Yeah. At that time, um, well, he was responsible for bringing in uh, Remy Priestess,
Hmm.
and he
Hmm.
was responsible for bringing in Willem de Toires.
Hmm. Hmm.
And while I was still associated with Bruce, I got the benefit of working with all those guys. Matter of fact, on my YouTube, you can see me and a guy named Guy Kananahan. I was testing. What happened was funny is Rainey, myself, Bruce, and Guy. We went to a tournament thrown by Martini.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. Well, we went to all of this stuff, but he threw one over here at a local high school, and we're all going to do demos. But Rainey, Rainey and Bruce, they had a sly look on their face, and they go, well, for the start of the demo, they go, "You guys go out there and do something. You guys bring it up." And now, so we did. We did what we call Decadena. What
Uh-huh.
they call Toppy Toppy now.
Sure.
But back then it was called Decadena. We did Decadena. We did Disarm and stuff, and uh, and and after we did our demo, Bruce and Rainey did their demo, and then at the end of it, they go, "Congratulations." You go, "You have your Lacan Dalawa, and you have your Lacanisa," to the guy, first and second degree black.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that was our test. But it was like we were nervous as you couldn't believe. But we did out there. Once we got out there and hit sticks, and we flowed. We forgot about everything else, and we just did our thing, and people clapped. And so hey, it worked out. It was funny though.
Did you at that time early on within Mr. Jutnik's program, did you have an opportunity to meet or to work with Angel at all?
No, I had like one seminar I remember, and then I worked with one seminar with Dentoy Revelar,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then but afterwards, I kind of got a friendship with Dentoy's one of his seniors named George DeLeon. I got the chance to work with him 2 or 3 times. He had a program, and what's a shame is uh, I met George at a Chuck E. Cheese because we had a birthday party for one of my grandkids, and he had something going for his kids. And I
Uh-huh.
talked to him, and he says, "No, I just retired from teaching." I go, "That's a shame, George." I go, you were up there, man. You were tops." And he goes,
Right.
"Yeah, but I just got tired." And then I after that, I went every chance I got. I'd look to see who was throwing seminars. I went to Dos Pares a couple of times, and
Hmm.
even Jimmy Tacosta,
Sure.
one of Angel's top students. He
Hmm.
had a seminar in Vacaville, Vacaville. So I went to that, and I talked to Jimmy. I go, "Jimmy, it's my first time I've been able to see you since the West Coast of Scream Society. I was a member of that West Coast
Uh-huh.
of Scream Society. It was a short-lived society, and I'm talking about who's who. I mean, you had Max Sarmiento, Danny Lasano, all Angel's top students,
Sure.
and then I remember Jimmy back then was walking around like upset. So finally, back in 1990, I mean 95, 98, somewhere in there,
Uh-huh.
I went to Jimmy's seminar. I finally got to ask him, Jimmy, how come you were all upset? He goes, well, because Angel didn't want to come, and I go, why? He goes, I don't join their association, they join mine. So Jimmy was telling me all about the history, and I go, I had no idea. And so I go, what happened to society, man? Well, all of a sudden there was no meetings. I mean, there was 2 meetings and then nothing else. He goes, hey, it just fell apart. Too much politics.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So that's what that was my encounter with Jimmy at his seminar.
So within Mr. Jutnick's program, how far did you progress in regards to Chinese Kempo at that time?
Well, like I said, I was kind of like I got to pick and choose. I didn't go for rank.
Mhm. Mhm.
He just showed me everything that I wanted to know,
Mhm.
and I really stuck with just learning. I really wanted to learn like Chinese crane and two-man set and tam tui, that type of thing. And
Sure.
but the Filipino arts were my passion, and so that was like at the same time I was going to this Washington Center downtown in Sacramento where it was like a boxing ring and people would come in to work out, play pool, but there was like different. It was like a 2-story building with different sections, and there was a guy teaching an offshoot of Shotokan where I was showing him some Filipino arts, and he was showing me all the katas and stuff
Mhm.
that he
Mhm.
knew.
Mhm.
And he was like I said, he was from Mexico, so he didn't mind showing me because he would go back and he didn't have to worry about what I knew, telling anybody else.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
all the forms that I learned, like God, I learned I think God all the ones that are in Kwarido Kyohan from Funakoshi.
Right.
So I like I said, it was like from 73 to 75 when he left. But
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just soaked as much as I could, and I brought it back to Bruce, and I kept by doing that, I kept getting what I wanted just from the Chinese Kempo without having to formally go through belt rankings. I just get the
Sure.
knowledge.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so that's what I did, and to this day I still do that. I'll go to Dos Apar's thing and just see what they're doing, and I noticed like all of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I noticed that there's a lot of things like Angelo Dundee used to say about when he trained Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali. They asked, "How do you find the weak spots?" And he goes, "I just see things. I see things. That's all he can say. I see things." That's just like
Mhm.
with me.
Mhm.
I just see things. So anyway, I got off track. What was the
No, no, no. The
question?
question was your progression with Bruce Jutnick,
Hmm.
through the Kempo, as well as through the other systems that he brought through. How was your progress, and at different intervals, where did you meet Remy at that time, Mr.
Do a
Presas?
seminar. Do a seminar, Bruce. Matter of fact, Bruce and Ramey. Bruce was really responsible for bringing Ramey out into the United States. I mean, they went when Ramey first came.
Hmm.
It was Bruce that flew them all over, like to Georgia, to all these other states, and we're like the first chapter. We were like the first generation of Ramey students. So people are fond of saying, well, the first generation didn't have this, didn't have that. Yeah, right. So, yeah, Bruce was responsible for sponsoring Ramey when he first came from the Philippines,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and so that's how I got. Ramey would come every year, just like almost like every year till like the late '90s, when Bruce had his last studio in Orangeville, and so Ramey would come every year and do a seminar every year, every year, every year, and then from '85 on, Willem de Tuares would come and do one every year till probably the early 2000s. And so, yeah, that's how that I'm really grateful to Bruce. Even though we parted our ways, I'm really grateful to him because he's gave me exposure to all these people. Of course, I did my own. I on my own. I'd go to Dos Paras, I'd go to Serratas,
Mhm.
and I would
Mhm.
do my
Mhm.
own thing.
Mhm.
But the fact is that a lot of that I owe to Bruce as a catalyst. So even though, like I said, we part of our ways,
Right.
it's still I'm grateful for that aspect of the martial part. So my gratitude goes a long way.
Of course, of course, of course. So, did you, within Chinese Kempo, had you reached a particular ranking at that time,
No,
or
no.
throughout?
As I said, I didn't worry
Hmm.
about ranking. I
Hmm.
was there for knowledge, and he knew I was there for knowledge. He didn't worry about trying to rank me.
Fascinating.
I wasn't looking for rank because
Hmm. Hmm.
I just wanted this aspect of that aspect of this,
Hmm.
and the the Filipino arts was where I really really concentrated on, but I would still pick up, like I said, aspects of the Chinese Kempo.
How far through the Serrata Eskrima system had you gone at that time?
Oh, well, at that time, all 12 strikes,
Hmm.
with what would they call us now, sombrata, which back then we called rolling.
Hmm. Hmm.
Went through all 12 strikes, and of course with Ramey's all aspects of it. Um, the, the disarms, the decadena, the empty-handed aspects, and so forth.
How do
Um,
you feel that the in your humble opinion, how do you feel that the Serrata Eskrima and modern Arnis compare or blend? Are they similar to you? Are they easily blendable?
well, you have to understand that as I put on my YouTube, I don't know if I took it off before, but I explained that on there that Serrata is a sword and dagger art.
Hmm.
Um, you look at the takeaways, which in Arnis are called disarms, but
Right.
the takeaways are done because it's a blade-minded mindset. So you
Hmm.
don't grab the blade with your hand
Right.
as you do in Arnis. So it's a sword and dagger art, but you still have takeaways, and when if you want to add the Arnis kind of disarms to it, you can. But if matter of fact, Jimmy Takosa's before Jimmy Takosa's seminar, before he got there, his seniors were teaching, and they were wondering, they were asking, they were. I was doing the stuff they were doing, but I was doing it my way,
Sure.
the way I learned it
Hmm.
originally.
Hmm.
And they asked, how are you doing that? Well, because it's a sword and dagger art. And back then, I explained to the seniors that he had no idea, and I apologize if this offends anybody, but back then we knew it was a sword and dagger art, so we would practice it as a
As
sword
a
and
sword
dagger
and
art.
dagger, yes.
Yeah, and then what we did was we were taught back then. This is back in the 73,
Hmm. Hmm.
74, 75,
Hmm.
that you practice it. Then you go to a dull blade, machete, and then once you're seniors and you know your distances, that's why you touch each other in the shoulder before you go. You know you're precise. Then when the seniors go to do demos, they use a live blade and they're cutting melons and they're cutting cucumbers and stuff,
Hmm.
and because they've already practiced, they know each other so well, they know the distances so well that they're not going to hurt each other.
Right.
And so I explained that to the guy, and he had no idea. I go, man, what are they teaching nowadays? But anyway, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So with Arnis, you grab the stick, you grab it anywhere you want. But if you go blade mindset with the Arnis, then you have to be more conscious and treat it like you do with Serrata.
Does modern Arnis have any drill within the system that's similar to lock and block as Serrata has?
Well, back in the day, we had decadena, which is of the chain,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
empty-handed was cadena de mano, which
Hmm.
means the chain of the hand.
Right.
And what the whole idea behind that is, each link, each technique is a link in the chain until you break the link, and then you counter. So that's what I learned back then. So decadena, when I would work it, or we would work, or Raymond would work it, he'd go left and right-handed, and then he'd stay in the drill. Well, if you see, I don't have it on. I'm kind of doing it at that tournament. That's what we're doing decadena. But anyway, it's the different techniques within the drill. until you break the drill. When that's breaking the link.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
when you go with your empty hand, you're doing the same thing. You're doing hand trapping. You're doing this and that until you break the link, and then you finish it off with your final punch or kick or whatever you want to do. So that's kind of like similar to lock and block, but more more similar to sombrata. And so anyway, that answers that question.
Right. Certainly. 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 So modern Arnis does not have blade technique within it. Then.
Oh, it does. Oh, absolutely. All Filipino arts have stick and blade,
Mhm.
what I call stick and blade mindset. Um, yeah, of course. Yeah. So the decadena we did it with a knife, did it with machetes. Matter of fact, we used to have magnesium short swords that when you hit, you did decadena, man, it would spark the fly, and you'd be going at 1,000 miles a minute, and people would just go crazy and clapping, and
Sure. Sure.
yeah, it was fun. I mean, that was back in the day, but we still do that. We can still do that with sticks and so forth.
And the Decadena that you speak about, is that primarily towards geared towards a short blade, or is that
No,
a
anything. Long stick, short stick, empty hand, knife, karambit, whatever. It's the concept. Okay, basically you have long range, short range, mid range,
mhm, mhm.
and Decadena represents when you hit on the outside, it represents the beginning of combat. But as all combat does, it comes into close range. So when you come in, it represents hitting the weapon hand from long range, and then coming in, and then going into the short distance, which is the fundo range, some people
Mhm.
call it,
Mhm.
or and so yeah. Matter of fact, I think I did some of that on YouTube. I don't remember if I took it off or not, but yeah, I did. I did that on YouTube, and but again, it's it's a multiple hit. A lot of people don't just use their left hand for checking hand, but it should be that both hands are independently alive and both are attacking um, either simultaneously or split seconds right after each other. So it should be left and right-handed, whatever drill, sombrata, decadena, or hubad lubad. It should be multiple hits, always multiple hits. If you don't do multiple hits, you're wasting half your energy and you're not countering. So that's my philosophy.
And so, how long did you spend with Grandmaster Praesos with the modern Arnis?
Well, like as I said, from like '76 on is when he started coming yearly
Mhm. Mhm.
for seminars
Mhm.
until I want to say the late '90s. I think was the last one when when Bruce was still in Orangevale, and yeah, I want to say mid to late '90s. The last time I saw him, and like I said, he'd just come and do yearly seminars, and then he would watch us, and and I think the last time he came. I think he asked Bruce if I want to rank, and I didn't really want to rank. I already knew what I was doing. It's
Mhm.
like, you
Mhm.
know, I plus he was looking for I guess kindred spirits to carry on his art, and at that time I wasn't one because I was already studying Silat Kuntao and the Willem de Tours, and I was already going to different seminars, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
didn't want
Mhm.
to so-called be one of his guys. So yeah, I told Bruce now I don't want to rank. So I just stayed at La Condella. I was content, second degree. But as I said, it's like knowledge that I was interested in, not rank and not be part of an organization and so forth.
Right, right. So at the up until even today, you really don't necessarily associate yourself as a modern Arnis instructor. Is that right?
No, no, no. That's why I have my own
Mhm. Mhm.
Diestro Escrima.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
my own logo because here's the thing: you don't want to upset people. You don't want to say your modern Anise or your Serrata or
Right.
your Dosapars. You just want to say this is my logo, this is my thing, but I incorporate everything that I've ever learned. And then if people want to my thing is my saying is, hey, you know what? You can say anything you want or say who you are, but
Hmm.
when you get out on the mat,
Absolutely.
then they see you. So that's my philosophy. I get out on the mat, I get on YouTube, and judge me accordingly.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so matter of fact, when we were doing the gatherings back in the late '90s, I think Vincent Caballos came by, came, and he didn't have anybody to work with, so I did the demo with him,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
afterwards I said, Vince, could you critique my Serrata? And I went through all my moves. He goes, I just have one. He just gave me one correction, and that was on Largomano two-step.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so he gave me that one correction. He said everything else was fine. And so anyway, that was my confirmation that everything I had learned was correct. And so um, yeah, that's always been my philosophy. Because see, I started working at Folsom Prison in 1977,
Hmm.
and so my thing was reality. I was already a black belt in an offshoot of Shotokan,
Sure.
and I was already 4 years into the Serrata Eskrima. So
Hmm.
when I got
Hmm.
to Folsom, we were using the straight batons,
Right.
and at that time, like I was 21 years old when I started working. The average age of the inmate was 35.
Right.
And so back then, and anytime somebody got shanked or stabbed,
Right.
they died. And
Hmm.
not like the 80s where people survived and all that stuff. But
Sure.
back
Sure.
back then, I found out the hard way what worked in martial arts and in the Philippine arts and what didn't.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so, like I said, I learned um, kind of like the guys doing what are the Dog Brothers? They in the
Yes.
80s they started hitting. Well, what they went through with friendly people. I had to go through with felons.
Hostile. Hmm. Hmm.
Yes, well, so again, not to say anything like I'm this and that. No, but it's scary. It was scary back then.
Of
And
course.
so, like I said, I learned the hard way what worked and what didn't work. And so that was my philosophy. Just pick up as much as you can. Don't worry about rank and this and that and this, and just go on. And that's when, like I said, I learned. I met Matosi, and you know, one day, I kept bugging him. I want to learn as much as I can, so I'm bugging him all the time. And so one day I'm working like this swing shift, which is third watch,
Sure.
at the desk, and I'm working in the honor block where he lived. And when he comes out with three big binders, puts them on there, he goes, "You read, you study." And so I look and I go, "Man, this is his master text, his new one." His guy he was bunking with was the typist, Montenegro.
Uh huh.
And
Uh huh.
so consequently, after that, after I took him back his stuff before I had to leave, and so every day I got a chance, I talked to him. I go, and he finally he asked me to help publish him. I go, I can't, man, I get fired.
Right.
So that's when I hooked up Bruce with him, and the rest is history. I had to stay out of photos and everything else because I couldn't be
Of course.
associated.
Of course. Of course.
So
So that's fascinating. Tell me what kind of man was Mr. Matosi?
he everything that I saw was what he wrote about. I mean, every morning, man, after breakfast, he would come out and feed the birds, and he was the warden's gardener. The warden gave him the run of the mill. And matter of fact, I don't know. This is yeah. I'll go ahead and say this. I, after I left Folsom in '85, I went to statewide transportation, where you extradite people, you fly out, you
Right.
get them, or you transport them in bus or
Sure.
vans.
Sure.
And I got to work with the warden's daughter. And finally, I go, you know what? So I asked Kathy. I go, Kathy, what about this, Kathy? And she got on the phone, called her father, who was I think living in another state, and I know
Hmm.
which state, but I'm not going to say.
Sure. Sure.
But she asked me any question that I wanted, and he even told her directly while I was listening, sitting right next to her, that he had no idea why he was in prison. There was no reason for him to be in there, and that's why he gave Matosi the job as a gardener, gave him the run of the mill because he'd go anywhere
Right.
because he felt, even the warden felt, that he wasn't supposed to be in there. But I guess there was I don't know, it's speculation on my part. He
Hmm.
said there was a lobby, and he didn't know from where, that kept him in there, political. And so it's just pure speculation that we've gone through that maybe he, because he worked with the American forces in Hawaii against the Japanese, that maybe that was one of the keys. So
Interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So it goes on and on. I mean, he got pictures with him and President Eisenhower,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to this day, it's his records have disappeared. Yeah, really, because I checked into that.
Disappeared.
Yeah,
You mean the correctional records?
yeah, they've gone. They were we went looking for them.
Really?
Yeah, and like I said, I worked statewide, so I was able to go to every prison in California, and the
Interesting.
one where the archives were supposed to be kept.
Mm-hmm.
And surreptitiously, I had somebody look and
Sure.
couldn't find them. So
Fascinating.
it's more than that.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard the story, but Bruce went to Chicago um, to look for one of the old students, and
Right.
he did some digging, and Bruce came back. He goes, "I got actually shot at." So therefore,
Wow.
yeah, it's a crazy story. So we don't know if it's espionage or a lobby, and I won't say what lobby, but
Well, of
um,
course, of
yeah,
course. That's very, very fascinating. I've never. Of course, there's always been speculation about different things with legendary martial artists, but you never expect something of that nature to come out.
yeah, like I said, I only tell this story to someone that's interested,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
private students and stuff,
Mhm.
but that's my direct experience, before and after. So
Very interesting.
yeah, so like the two conversations with Kathy and the ward and her father, the warden,
Yes.
retired now,
Mhm.
and this conversation happened probably, I want to say, 2003, when we were in a van,
Sure.
and so I just put all these dots together, and that's why I lay off of it, because
Of course, absolutely. You don't want to talk too much about it, and you don't want to
yeah,
necessarily inquire in the wrong places
or
either.
attract attention.
Exactly, exactly. But that's very, very fascinating.
But I
Very
figured, you know
fascinating.
what? I figured what a few months ago, when you were going to interview me, I told my private students that if you did interview me, I would use this opportunity to bring it out,
Hmm.
and then finally you're here, so I'm letting it
That's
come out. So
fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I do appreciate that. That's very, very fascinating information. So after you had when you had entered into becoming an employee there in the correctional system, did you continue your studies? You had said you studied under Mr. Dutoit.
yeah, well, see, all this is going on at the same time.
Hmm. Hmm.
I start Folsom in 1977.
Hmm.
I meet Matosi 2 weeks after I started, because they put you on like day probation.
Sure.
So they watch you, see how you react,
Of course.
and so I'm out on the yard,
Hmm.
learning stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm in the what they call the yard shack. The sergeant and
Right.
the other officers are there,
Hmm.
and this old Japanese gentleman comes in, and the sergeant, he says, "Hey, Matosi, don't forget to get that garbage out there," and blah 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 blah. Okay, so I'm looking at the guy, Matosi. So I just meander out. I go, "Yeah, I'm gonna go check out the yard one. Yeah, do your job,
Right.
go do your job." And so I go, Matosi, are you by chance related to Grandmaster James Matosi?
Hmm.
And he goes, "How do you know him?" I go, I just read him in the book, and
Uh-huh.
I thought I saw him in an airport. He just looks at me, he knows I'm lying,
Right.
because I did read about him in Bruce Haynes' Histories and Traditions.
Sure.
And so he goes into the yard shack, comes out with an envelope,
Right.
and he shows it to me. He says, "James M. Matosi." I go, "That's James Matosi." And then I realized, man,
Sure.
it was the addressee. I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, and he points to himself, me. I go, "Oh my God!" I was so much filled with questions that
Uh-huh.
that I think he regretted letting me know because I bugged him every single day. I bugged him to no end. And one time, we had towers with guns,
Sure.
and then one time I bugged him so much that he goes, okay, what do you do? Somebody got your arm. Somebody got the other arm. Somebody got your leg. Somebody got your other leg. And somebody choking you like that.
Uh-huh.
And I looked up the tower. I go, he's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And he goes, and he says, what do you do? I go, I don't know. What do you do, Mr. Pastor? He goes, and he puts his hand together. You pray. Oh, he was not without a sense of humor.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's
Sounds
my
like it.
experience with him. That,
Uh-huh.
one of them, anyway.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Was he so he was someone who was even well respected and
Oh
admired there
yeah,
within the system.
absolutely. I mean, there were stories about him. See, I was the only guy, martial artist, that talked to him and that he asked to help publish. There was a couple, like I won't mention their names, but
Sure.
one became lieutenant, one's retired now, like I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they had stories too. They said that one time that Matosi was being bugged by somebody, and he just jumped up in the air, kicked the guy's hat off, and then that was the end of it. And so that someone told me that's an eyewitness that really happened. Then there's other stories that I won't say because I can't verify them.
Of course.
The guy that I worked with verified this one, and so and as a matter of fact, he was I think second or third degree Chinese Kempo guy, but under a different system.
I
Can't
see.
remember who's.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
That's
yeah, there
very
was a lot of martial
fascinating.
artists back then working at Folsom.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure there were. There had to be. At that time, along with, of course, working within the correctional system, had were you still studying martial arts, and were you still associated with Mr. Jutnik?
Yeah, like I said, we parted friendly ways back in 2007. I want to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that was just due to political reasons, but the profit motive wasn't mine. So
I understand. I
yeah.
understand.
So
But how then did you become associated with William Detois?
well, like I said, it was because of Bruce's studio that
Mm-hmm.
he had the leeway to bring people in,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I was
Mm-hmm.
working, so I had a family, so I couldn't just march off to out of state to do different things. So
Of course.
so when Bruce brought him in, I took advantage of it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and every year he would bring Willem in. Willem would come in every, and then there was a couple of years where Willem would come in, and then in midway the half year, Willem would send one of his seniors. Um, uh, what's his name? George Morris, I believe. I can't remember. It's been so long. But he had the seniors like Philip Silas, he would come when he would come, he would bring his seniors, and of course the 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 Kuntao that he taught was a little bit different than the Sirach from his brothers. But even though he taught Sirach, he would teach different mindsets, like in the Chinese mindset, he would teach Hokkien, Fukian, um, Kwantung and Shantung, and Bogua Zen, which is Bagua.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
on the Sirach side, he would teach Chimandi, Chikalong, Sirach, Petchut Kilat, that type of thing. And so we had a plateful in learning all those different mindsets. And then what we would do is we would have to learn the jurus, three basic jurus, but we have to learn them in each mindset. And so that added the different flavors and so forth. So it was a great learning experience. And to this day, I still haven't mastered all of my. I'll still work with it. I'll teach my students, but
Mhm.
it's like if you box a fighter and fight a boxer, and if the guy's big, what do? He's
Sure.
6'4", 240 pounds.
Sure.
What mindset are you going to use? And if he's your size but faster, what are you going to use? That type of thing. That's what the different mindsets were for.
And so, are you still affiliated with Willem Detois?
No, no. They he went to the last gathering, but unless you're one of his direct students, and again, you're part of his organization, and that's all
Sure.
you do. That's
Sure.
all you do.
Sure.
Then you're not going to be affiliated with him. and
I see.
that's not my cup of tea either.
I understand. I understand. So, did you at some point gain rank within his particular system as well?
No, again, it was like he just came to show us his stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew that I was affiliated already with Bruce, so
Sure.
he wasn't going to cross that line.
Right. 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 Right.
But he would give freely of his knowledge, and one day I was showing uh, the keys to hand trapping,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he had me like warm up the class, and I was showing him keys to hand trapping.
Sure.
I said, you don't have to spend $80 or $100 on a video. This is all you got to do. And he came up to me and goes, "Oh, you know your stuff." I go, "Yeah." So yeah. So anyway, he gave us our props, but we didn't
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
ask more of him, and he didn't ask more of us. But he gave freely of his knowledge every year, like I said, from '85 to the late '90s.
I see.
So so that was good enough for us,
Right. Right.
And so,
Sure.
same thing like with Ramey, it was, Kellen Share, and then like with Ramey, man, every time he would come, we showed him that we were already well beyond what he was teaching, and I'm not saying this egotistically either. I'm just saying that if you understand principles and concepts, you get a million techniques from principle and concept. So if you just teach technique, that's all you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get. But if
Mm-hmm.
you understand
Mm-hmm.
the principle and concept, I mean, techniques come. I mean, you can do disarms, you can do strips, you can do strips with a hand trap, you can do strips with a lower leg arts, with a sapus and besets and kaki calls, and you can combine them all in a million different ways, and each time it'll be different. And so that's what I'm saying is if you understand that, then you don't get an ego, you don't look for, you get on the mat, and people will know you know.
Right. Of course. Of course.
So that's basically that's always been my philosophy.
So do you are you still teaching the parts of his system then?
Well, yeah, I mean it's incorporated. I mean you can't. Uh, if I teach sword and dagger, I
Mm-hmm.
also teach rapier and dagger. I also teach stick and dagger, and each one of them is like the mindsets in the Kuntao and Silat. Each one is its own mindset, and you apply them. Like see, I can apply the same concepts in the Hubba Luba drill, and they all contain multiple hits, left and right-handed, and so when I teach the disarms, I teach disarms and strips and how to strip, how to disarm, combined with entering to the lower art, combined with using both hands simultaneously,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so it's like one cohesive whole. So when I teach in my master text, I have like okay, 1 through 4 disarms from Arnis, 1 through 4 Serrata, um, along with say number 1 Juru, and then along with how to combine it all. Well, each level has to have a graduation process where you pyramid up to the top, and then when you're getting close to the top, you start seeing the fact that it's one holistic whole, and each mindset has its own place and time. And matter of fact, I just gave a seminar at the school, and I had like 20 students, and they were like ranked from white belt all the way to black belt, but they were like young
Mm-hmm.
or old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I showed how to combine all the stuff, all the knowledge that I had in graduation. I showed basic. This is a basic disarm. This is a basic disarm with a counter. This is a basic disarm with an entering. This is a basic disarm with second intention. And so by the time the class was over, the seminar was over, these guys were moving like pros already, because I, I showed them how to use the like Lanka Lurus by entering, and then if you just turn your body, the guy falls. So these guys were like at the end they were just like amazed. They just came up and said, "This is incredible." They were all clapping and stuff, and I'm not like patting myself on the back. I don't mean that. I just mean that if you teach principle and concept, you can teach anybody at any level, and contrary to what I read in some of these books that no one can do this, no one can do that. I don't believe that. So I give the best that I can every juncture, just like Willem did to me, and Ramey did for me. So that's what I try to give back.
So along with the Chinese Kempo, the Sarada, the modern Arnis, and the Kuntao Silat, um, was there any other particular system that you've studied for a period of time that you've been able to benefit from and also add to your teaching capability?
My repertoire, yeah, I've been to like I said, Dosapar seminars, Balintawak seminars, um, and basically what it comes down to is just you see the essence of what they're doing, like with the Balintawak, the quintada part.
Hmm.
It's just counting. Like you could break down sombrata into make it look like Balintawak quintada just by breaking numbers. Like, for
Right.
instance, you got sombrata, you say okay, number three. So on the third hit, somebody counters. Then the next guy says six, blah 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 six, and then counter. So you
Hmm.
can break it down that way so that no one gets hurt, but on number six, one of you is going to counter. So that's Quintana style. So that's what I got from the Balintawak system.
And which particular variation of the Doce Pares had you worked with?
Um, what's his name? Kakoi. I went to
Okay.
two Kakoi's seminars. That's where I realized that the sparring system is
Hmm.
basically almost hubad lubad, except that they use their left hand just to counter and trap. And so, so, so I have a multiple hit hubad. So when I was working with one of the seniors, I was instead of just trapping, I was hitting with my empty hand. They got upset because they didn't see that. And same thing with the multiple hit uh, uh, um, Decadena. My senior student in Maine, he's a seventh degree under me, and he went to a Rebbe Priester seminar, and they were doing the Decadena, or the Tapi Tapi as they call it
Yes.
now.
Uh huh.
And he goes, well, how about he asked him, how about the multiple hit? He goes, what's that? And then he proceeded to do it, and they had no idea how to handle it. So again, it's I don't say it out of ego, honestly.
Right. No. No. No.
I
Of
don't say
course.
it out of
Uh huh.
ego,
Uh
but
huh.
I'm just saying that you have to continue your knowledge, and I don't know, I'm not at the end of my quest for more knowledge and
Sure.
experience and so forth,
Sure.
but I just know that if you don't use both hands and both feet in a multiplicity of ways, then you're going to be at a disadvantage, and that's how I see out there. One-handed, they call it the alive hand, but it's not really alive. And so my philosophy is to teach that, and let the students go with it where they may.
Right.
And again, from the School of Hard Knocks, from working at Folsom and boxing in the Police Olympics and fighting in the karate tournaments in the Police Olympics, you know that there's a line between sport and reality. When
Hmm.
you get back into the prison or in the system, you know that's reality. So there's no judges. It's like you got to be able to survive and have that mindset to survive. So that's where I came from. So like I said, a non-ego way. I promise it's not, but it's just like you're on the street and there's no cop around.
Right.
It's just you protecting your family.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of like my philosophy.
I understand. I understand. So, within your particular methodology of teaching, within your system, um, the major components are then the Chinese Kempo,
Mm.
the Sarada, the modern Arnis, and the Kuntao Silat.
And boxing
Hmm.
and the kicking arts, because like I said, I got a speed bag and a heavy bag out back. I got a Wing Chun wooden dummy. I got a
Sure.
and I call it. It's almost like Sinawali hands, but you got central and perimeter hitting. Um, and what it is I'll also call effortless hitting, because if you relax your hands and then, it's just like some Wing Chun people say that if you tense up to punch, it's all wasted energy. The energy should be at the last inch or so.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
my thing is showing people how to effortless hit, how to read directional hits, um, how to use the person's balance, because the octagon from Matosi teaches I don't care what position your body's in. You have a 1 point where you only need 1 ounce of strength to knock them off balance at any point. I don't care what position, what they're in. At 1 point, there's what I call a target point where you can redirectional hit effortlessly. And so that's what I got from Matosi, and that's what I think some arts teach, but they probably don't teach it till their advanced level, which I
Which is
show
a
right
shame.
away. Yeah,
Which is a
I show right
shame.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can be in a boxer stance or in a horse stance, but there's 1 point where I'm going to be toppled over effortlessly. And when you work with bodies in motion, that's where, like even Bagua people do that, but um, I don't know if they tell the seer, but in Matosi's thing, I teach that right away so that they are conscious of it. So then when they work when they work their platforms and they work with somebody else, that's always in mind, so that if they want to hit or punch, they're going to punch it that one direction. And so it just makes basically it's physics, kinesthetics, kinetics. And so again, that's it's all encompassing what I teach for me anyway. Everything that I've ever learned, I try to make it one cohesive whole. And I've had a private student for 2 years now, and matter of fact, when he was a 1 year student, he went to the gathering, and Willem and Victor were there of the Tuares, and Willem came up to my student and says, "You're pretty good. How you learn? How you learn? And I told him not to tell anybody that because Bruce was throwing it that gathering.
Sure.
I told him not to mention me, but he didn't. And Will came up to him and complimented him, and he'd only been a student for 1 year, and so that was to me confirmation.
Absolutely. When your students receive compliments, then absolutely you know that you've done a fantastic job.
Well, yeah, it's just the fact that I transmitted the right stuff, not ego wise, but as far as
Right.
him learning learning his stuff.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so anyway, that told me that I was on the right track of teaching and not wanting accolades or anything. I didn't. But,
Sure. Sure.
But,
In regards to you said that you also teach from a fencing point of view as well. Where did you learn the technique of fencing, and did you spend time actually working with a foil or with a saber?
yeah, well, I went to this fencing school, and we had a deal where I would uh, teach my stuff, and I would learn from them. And the school is defunct now, but I basically just learned a lot of their techniques, what they do, how they do it, watching them, showing me a couple of drills, and then I realized, wait a minute, yeah, I realized, this is nice,
Right.
but it's not reality,
Right.
and so I just took what I could from them, and I gave them some of the stuff from me. I gave them a couple of DVDs and stuff, and showed them how to do this and that. But I realized that the sword and dagger, they lacked a dagger, so they were just all one-sided.
Right.
So my thing was sword and dagger, and the other thing I realized was that just like a lot of Filipino styles, they're too wide. If you get what I teach students is tie a belt around their elbows so that their elbows are always stuck to the ribs.
Right, right,
And then,
exactly, so that they don't have to, so they don't get in the habit of reaching.
right, and not only that, I would tie a bungee cord around their wrists. So everything they did, I don't care if it was Sinawali or hitting, lockpick, woodpick, or whatever, everything was in tight.
Right.
So the people that you see like on YouTube, they're wide.
Yes.
You get about 5% of the Indonesians that you see on YouTube and 5% of the Filipinos you see on YouTube. You only get maybe 5 or maybe 3% that are tight with their elbows in.
Sure.
And they're the ones that I know they know what they know. But so I teach my students how to do that. I tie a karate belt around their elbows.
Yes.
And then a bungee cord. Then I have them do every drill that we do, everything we do from there, so that so if they ever cross sticks with another style or whatever, they're gonna always beat them to the punch.
That's very very interesting, and the reason why I say that is because my original Serrata instructor used to do that to us so that we would keep our elbows in tight, and so that was that was part of some of our training that we actually went through in order to keep ourselves tight, and it's very interesting, very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I call it refinement of movement.
Mhm. Mhm.
Refinement, and so again, if you have that habit, you'll always beat most styles to the punch.
Most
And
definitely.
and not only that, if you understand rapier and dagger, you're always going to beat the sword and dagger guy too.
Hmm. Now, let me ask you, going back to Serrata, did you have an opportunity to meet with Max Sarmiento at all, or no?
Well, no, as a matter of fact, I didn't meet him, but he was there at the West Coast of Screaming Society, if I recall correctly.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
You had Max, you had like I said, Danny, you had
Sure.
all of Angel's top guys. I can't remember their names now; it's been so long. But oh God, um, yeah, the who's who
Hmm.
was there, and I mean, even like God, I wish I could remember the names, but the guy that's teaching that Wing Chun guy in Arizona, I can't remember his name.
Khalid Khan or Ron Saturno?
No, no, Latosa. Renee
Oh,
Latosa.
Renee. Renee. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Renee was there. I mean, they did a little demo,
Hmm.
and of course, Dentoy Revlar was there, and
Hmm.
oh, Leo Huron was
Sure.
there.
Sure.
I mean, it was like this is like 77, 78.
Right.
I mean, it was a who's who.
Uh-huh. Have you ever had the opportunity to work with the any of the original three within that group of the Bahalana from Leo Huron or Gilbertino's De Cuerdas?
No, not. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, Tino was there too. As a matter of fact, now that you
Hmm.
mention it, but no, I went to Danny came. Inosano came a couple of times to Sacramento and did
Hmm.
a seminar. We were there,
Sure.
and Leo Huron was there. He showed a couple of things. That was the nicest man I've ever met. He reminded me of my father. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he had the same look, the same
Hmm. Hmm.
glasses, the
Hmm.
same soft spokenness, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
man, anyway, yeah, Leo Huron was there and Danny was there, and they just showed a couple things. Danny was doing um, the Ciroc stuff, showed some techniques, and then Leo Huron did a couple things, and
Hmm.
that was like my only seminar was that involved Leo Huron.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was
Hmm.
a shame, but yeah, it was the only time.
In regards back to your time with Bruce Jutnik, when he talks about the six keys, can you explain a little bit about that?
The Six Keys, I'm not familiar with that. When did he come out with that?
I'm the six. It's within the locking.
Well, here. Let me clarify something for once and for all.
Uh huh.
What when Matosi um, came out with his master text, and as he taught me, he, this is going to upset a lot of people, but it's the truth. Matosi did not want any Japanese terminology. He wanted all English because he said when you're in Rome, you do as Romans do. He wanted all English, and he wanted no belt system,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he wanted robes or kind of like robes at the time, but that was his thing. He was when Bruce and got his son involved, Matosi's son involved. That's when things changed. They did their own thing. Me as being affiliated but not in the open in public with them, I couldn't say anything. So that was the first thing that went different,
Mhm.
and I think in Matosi's eyes went wrong. When I asked the Matosi, he initially asked me to help publish his book.
Mhm.
I said, well, why don't I contact your family? He goes, no contact, no contact. So I go, hey, I just stayed out of it from then on. I just studied what was going on, like the octagon and the pattern and
Sure.
so forth.
Sure.
but I stayed out of the politics of it because that was too sticky for me. I
I
didn't.
see.
So I let them do what they're doing, but they, I just stayed out of it. But I knew what his wishes were, and so I just state that for the record. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody,
No, of course not. Of course not.
and I just have the highest praises for what they did, but I just know what Matosi's wishes were personally, what he
Mhm.
told me.
Mhm.
So that's all I can state. So whatever is history is history.
Of course, of course. So with your system of Eskrima, how did you develop that, and how do you continue to teach that from a level to level basis?
Well, see, I call it diestro screama,
Hmm.
diestros, and someone else took my name from me and put it for their style. But diestro basically means dexterous. It means
Hmm.
the old sword masters in Spain were called diestros,
Hmm.
and so were and so like the matadors and the diestros, and they all had what was called duende, which means kind of like Japanese mushin. It's like a flamenco dancer. When they get to a point where they're in an elevated state where everything's working on its own
Sure.
unconsciously,
Hmm.
or what
Hmm.
did Suzuki call it, consciously unconscious, or unconsciously conscious, or consciously unconscious.
Right.
So that's, and I have all these old texts. I mean, I'm talking about 1500s sword texts, texts, and I got modern ones. I've studied everything I can about the blade arts, and so I've come to learn that anything written is a freezing point at that time of that guy's knowledge, and so but it's up to you to graduate that and then validate it. I mean,
Hmm.
anybody can make something up, right? But
True. Very
if
true.
you can validate it with hands-on with someone else, then you progress from there. So my thing is being a diestro is constantly like the Spanish Circle. They have like Tybalt was a French guy, but he followed the Spanish Circle, and it's basically like an octagon, but with different lines, kind of like the platforms. But if you look at old text, you see that they're using the same target points to offset and off balance people, and they're using that with a pattern. Um, who did it years ago in Black Belt magazine or Karate Kung Fu? One of those. This actor did what's his name? He did a article on the Spanish Circle, and and he had it for the most part kind of right, but he was missing some points. And basically, I got that from Matosi, so I got that in my master text, what I call the Tratado de Diestro Escrima,
Hmm.
and so
Hmm.
I have it explained in there how you use the Spanish Circle, and you can probably get a copy of that. I think it's on the net right now. They have a series 1, 2, and 3. I guess each one of them has. I gave the rights to Master Brent Creasy in Maine, Augusta, Maine, the state of Maine,
Hmm.
and he, I believe, is selling the third copy. And the third copy, um, I have all these pictures of me and Vince and all, and different people over the years. But anyway, I explained it in that text how to use the Spanish Circle, and basically that's how you use the octagon. And so, so I know I got off track again. What was the question?
No, 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 no. The question was in regards to how the how you've combined the different systems that you've learned, your primary systems, and your methodology of teaching. How you
Oh
were
yeah,
able to combine those, as well as how you promote within your particular system as far as level by level
oh yeah,
basis.
Well, when I teach by principle, as I said before, by principle and concept.
Hmm.
Now, when you get new students, you have to show them technique, right?
Right.
But as they progress to, say, by the green belt level, they already start to see how the principles and concepts go beyond technique.
Right.
So they start seeing similar. They start seeing the print, the principle. They start seeing the whole picture. So if I'm showing, like, say for instance, let me get my book out so I can. Level 1, which I call soul, which means sun, yellow.
Mhm.
You got the basic guard. You got the tri-stance, male and female. Movement and stances. You got the Wutik, Abanico, Laptic, Puño, Sombrada. Puño, figure 8, blah, blah, blah. Then you got 1 through 4 strikes of Serrata, 1 through 4 of Arnis, disarms. You got drills outside number 1, sweep block, Lagamano, this and that, shoulder block, blah. And then by the time you get to even the yellow, the blue level, it's yellow. They're already seeing the fact that they're combining the Serrata with some of the Arnis concepts, and they're separating stick mindset from blade mindset. So when they do things like takeaway and cross block and rooftop, they know that that's different than the Arnis disarms because it was blade mindset. So by the blue level, they're doing double Sinawali, Redondo, Puño Sombrada, and the Hubu drill. And so they're doing that now with their empty hand. And so they're realizing, wait a minute, blah, 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 this is the same as that, that's the same as this. So listen, for instance, I'll give you a concrete example of the way I taught. I taught outside number 1, okay? And I told them, now we're going to go to the other side. We're not going to do inside number 1. We're going to do outside number 1 with the left hand. So now they got outside number 1 on both sides, correct?
Right.
Now we do outside number 1, okay? And it's an outside number 1 on this side. Okay, I go, let's drop Serrata now. Let's go to double Sinawali. So I'm doing double Sinawali on one side, 1, 2, and 3. It's 1, 2, and 3. Now 3, 4, and 5. 6. So now they realize, wait a minute, isn't it the same thing? Hello. Now let's go to let's drop that. Let's drop Arnis. Let's go to Kali. Let's do the Hubud. Bo, bo, bo. Now the Hubud on the other side. Bo, 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 bo. Isn't that the same thing? Hello. So they realize, wait a minute, we just went to 3 different systems and did the same thing.
Right.
It's just called something different. And so now we add the punch to it. So now I got outside number 1 with a punch, and then outside number 1 on this side with the punch. Okay, now let's do double Sinawali with a punch. 1, 2, 3, punch. 1, 2, 3, punch. It's the same hand, same movement. Now let's do the Hubud with a punch. Boom, boom, boom. Isn't that the same thing? Yeah. But now you understand how to transcend style into concept and principle.
Right.
So anyway, they just come away, and then I go, now we're going to add the lower art to it. So now you're doing this. Now you're walking with a Hubud, and now you're entering, and now you're double doing both sides of the Hubud. Now if you're walking with it, you don't know what foot's going to be forward, you don't know what hand's going to be forward, but you got to enter either on 1, 2, or 3. So you learn how to enter on 1, 2, or 3, regardless of what hand is forward, regardless of what foot is forward.
Sure.
And now they go to the lower art. So now they got they will say, well, what is this, outside number 1, or is this Hubud, or Sinawali? I'll just say yes. So that's how you teach by concept instead of technique.
Got it. And so you progress that way throughout your system. How many levels do you have of progression?
Well, right now I have just the yellow, blue, green, brown, and black. Over in Maine, I gave them autonomy, and they added, I think, 2 more levels because they wanted to be, I guess, more concise with their teaching.
Sure.
So, again, like I said, I teach and I give autonomy to the people that I promote to the black belt levels.
Right.
Because everybody has their own style of teaching.
That's very true. Very true. So in the future, where do you foresee your system and yourself being? What do you feel you would like to accomplish at the end or by the end?
Well, again, see, I go back to my philosophy of not worrying about rank and worrying about this and that. I just worry about teaching. When I go different places and I teach, what they do with it, or they want to keep running with it, it's up to them. But I just go and give the best that I got every single time. My philosophy is this, and I learned this from the early '80s because I was in the New Age movement and all that stuff. But it's the truth.
Sure.
It's the truth. If you give your best stuff out all the time, I swear as I can swear, that more comes to you. If you hold on to technique, like I'm gonna hold this technique back because it's an advanced technique, and
Right,
only
right.
black, you get stuck. You get stuck. So the more I give out, trust me, I when I was at the other, it was a week ago, I gave a seminar. More stuff came to me that night that I was able to teach that I hadn't taught before because I was giving my best stuff out, and I told them I'd
Hmm.
give my best stuff out. So gradually, I got up everybody looking like at the black belt level, and they're like yellow belts and stuff, and so that told me that reconfirmed it keeps reconfirming for me that you give your best stuff out, more will come to you, and it's always proved true to me, and I'll always hold by that philosophy. And then that's the other thing too. Some I wrote in my article that some people frown on what I do because I'm giving the best stuff out right away. But my always been my like I said, it's always shown to me that if you do that,
Hmm.
the students benefit. They learn more. They can go well, just like in the Filipino arts and in Indonesian arts. Back in the Philippines and Indonesia, they learned stuff right away to protect themselves. They didn't go through a graduation process. They go, what did you need? This is what you need now to learn so that you can protect yourself. And same thing in the Indonesian villages, they learned what they had to learn. They didn't like the teachers didn't say, well, you must wait till blah blah blah.
Right.
Not like in the United States where it's a business.
Of course, of course, of
And
course.
so my philosophy, since I'm retired and I don't have a business, I can give the best stuff out.
Now,
So,
are you teaching? Do you teach strictly privately, or do you have a school of your own?
well, no, I used to. I don't have a school of my own. I teach private lessons. I teach one school in Oroville, then one school in Maine. I used to teach in Connecticut and Rhode Island, but
Hmm.
their business fell during the economic times.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, no, I'll teach wherever anybody wants me to go. So, if they want my stuff, I'll give my stuff. I don't hold back. There's nothing. Like I said, whatever I give out, more will come to me, and so I'm not afraid to give my best stuff out anytime. So, yeah, if somebody wants me, just give me a call.
Okay. For those that will be listening to this interview, um, you have several DVDs that you've released.
Yeah,
Where are those available for those who might be interested, as well as how can the folks who will be listening contact you in order to have you in for seminar or to pursue a more personal learning with you?
sure. My first of all, the DVDs are sold by Brent Creasy, Master Brent Creasy from Maine.
Hmm.
He has them on his website. You can get a hold of him at kicksusa.com, and then he has on what's that, eBay?
Yes.
He has some on eBay that are for sale. Like I said, he bought. I let him buy the rights to selling them
Sure.
because at that time when I was so busy still working, I
Right.
didn't have time to handle all that stuff. So I basically sold him the rights. He has the brand new master text out that has all, like I said, all the history with me and Vince and uh, a lot of different people. Got pictures of me with Kaja Campbell had what's his name? Oh God, my memory's going. Memory's the second thing that goes, by the way. I'm 59 years old, but no, they can get a hold of me at area code 916-921-1119, and my email address is george.santana@comcast.net. And I'm free to I'm willing to teach anybody anything if they want, and I'll never hold back, as I said. So if you want my best stuff, all they got to do is call me.
Excellent, excellent. And Master Santana, I'd just like to thank you so much for your time and for giving us your time today and sharing so much with us.
Yeah.
Mail and send you a link as well so that you'll have
Okay.
that so you can
Appreciate
share
that.
with your folks.
Listen, thank you for inviting me
Not at
to
all, not
talk.
at all. It's been a real pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
By the way, I did pick up a couple of your DVDs, by the way, so I am familiar with what you teach and what you do, and I was very impressed. So
Oh, thank you. Like I said, it's my modern stuff I'm putting on YouTube
I
for
see.
free, but
Uh huh. Uh
but
huh. Yeah, I
Anyway,
know. I noticed your backyard gym. I wish I had the weather here in St. Louis, Missouri area in order to do that myself. I teach privates as well out of my garage, and of course I've got my equipment, my tires, and so forth set up there. But it would be
yeah,
awfully nice if I had a backyard to work with like you do.
yeah, I have like almost like a full acre of land
Wow,
my house sits on. So, but
that's outstanding.
yeah. So anyway, you're welcome to come by anytime.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You have a beautiful morning and a great day today, and enjoy your grandkids.
And you too. Thank
Take
you.
care, sir.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
take care. Bye.